Welcome to another episode of the Pig City Podcast. It's baseball season. MLB opening weekend is here. We got all the action coming right from our network. We're going to do our segment of Around the Bases. We're going to go over 4 topics we've picked out from opening weekend. And baseball's back in a massive way. Home base, home plate is going to be baseball's back in a massive way. And when we talk about baseball being back, if you watched any of the slated games this weekend, we'll get into this a little bit later, but didn't it feel a little different? Was it because of WBC that we've already had these competitive games? Because, as a fan watching a spring training, your guys get a couple at bats, you watch the prospects, but it don't really have that same allure of the WBC. You're wanting your guys to win, your country, your players that play for other countries. Shouts out to Eugenio Suarez, who we're recording this on Sunday of the games. He just had the game-winning home run for the Reds. You wonder, is that a carryover from that? Without giving up anything else we're going to say in this, it just felt like this year was different. And maybe it's just me. Maybe it's my mindset. Let me know. And as far as let me know, make sure you do like and subscribe, comment. What was your favorite part of opening weekend? Did your team get one of the few sweeps in the league? Did you win the series? Did you lose the series? Were you one of the teams that's looking like, why did I believe and yet we can't win a game? It just felt like the energy was kind of different and in the best way possible. These stadiums, you look at some of the stadiums, you're wondering, whoa, is this a playoff game? Now, we know it's going to taper off. The thing about baseball, there's 162 games, whether you like it, love it, whatever. Here's the best part to me. Every day, honestly, All-Star break, of course, for all you lames. Every day from now on, you can turn on your TV, turn on your computer, whatever your streaming service tablet is, and there's baseball there. And this year it feels like everybody, of course, the beginning of every season, you have everybody has we're going to win the World Series goals. But doesn't it feel like this middle group of teams kind of, at least on paper and in hopes, are kind of elevated? I mean, we got people talking about the Pirates potentially being a playoff team. Shouts out to the Reds, 83 wins, making the playoffs. Are they going to make the playoffs? These kind of middling teams all feel like they got better. Now, the worst teams, we'll see how much they really improve. Your Rockies, White Sox, the bottom tier of teams. But, I mean, even the White Sox had excitement. Murakami going yard multiple times. It just felt like everyone was excited collectively. And admittedly, if you're watching this, you're probably a baseball fan or listening to this. Thank you to all of our audio listeners as well. It feels like baseball this year is just going to have a little more of a pulse to it. That's the word I'm looking for. There's a pulse in the air. There's a pulse of, I think a lot of it's attributed to WBC and the games we saw. Now, if you think back to 3 years ago in the WBC, there was close games. We remember the Trout Ohtani at bat, but I don't remember watching so many games of pool play, caring about it so passionately. And shouts out to MLB The Show. If you didn't know, if you don't have a new copy yet, they literally every player on every roster is on there, which is a cool thing. You can insert your Diamond Dynasty team to take on all the teams in other countries. They got new stadiums, which I will say MLB, we get it. MLB The Show has 4 new stadiums. I swear I've seen that commercial, no joke, probably 57 times in the last 2 days. But that's what happens when y'all can't see this, but TV's all around, baseball just constantly. But in this weekend, okay, as we're getting almost done with home plate here, usually these segments will last 5 to 10 minutes. It could be 5, it could be 10. But this time we're going to kind of just touch on home plate just with simply an overview. Like we said, there's always something going on in baseball. I get that sometimes it's a hard commitment to watch 9 innings of one game solely by yourself with nothing else going on. But the day and age we live in, you probably might have another TV, you might have a phone, you might have a device, you can watch, you can keep up with it. But having multiple baseball games on where, no, you're not going to see everything, but you're focused on the one game. You look over, there's something happening. It felt like there were so many close games, and I don't want to get into one of our bases later on, but we had extra innings a lot. We had some not so clean play that we'll get into here in a minute. It just felt like it wasn't a slow ramp up this year. I guess is the best way to put it. It was just season, boom, go, we're off and running. For the better and for the worse. Saw some quality baseball, saw some really bad baseball, but it was baseball. And baseball is back. We're so excited for that. And I think that's what makes opening weekend so fun, because now we have something like we can actually react to. It's not just on paper. It's now we're overreacting or reacting to the overreaction, and that's what we're going to get into here in a minute as well. Real quick, before we move on to first base, please like, subscribe, share. The way this kind of works is if we can get it pushed out early, we can keep it going throughout the year. So the goal is at least every other week. Maybe we can do it once a week, but that's kind of where we're going. So as we head on to first base, we're going to talk about opening weekend rust. And I could be off here. Didn't it feel kind of sloppy to anybody else? I saw pitchers throwing the ball into the dugouts. I saw outfielders colliding into each other. I saw people whiffing on easy ground balls overthrown at the plate, just multiple walks. I know that's not the exact same thing, but in bad situations, I know, especially in the Reds game, the second game they lost, where it's like, why put him in that situation? Just walking people in bad situations. It was really kind of just ugly, kind of messy. Maybe to counter my last point, or to add to my last point, I guess, to support it, maybe it's like because it felt like everybody was going 100 miles an hour and there was no like kind of slow buildup, that more mistakes were happening. And I do teach that. I coach that. If you're going to make a mistake, make it going 100 miles an hour, make it going hard, like push yourself. Don't just, I'd rather you make a mistake not being lazy than make a lazy mistake. But it just felt kind of sloppy. I know it's the beginning of the year. I know that after every team finishes this week, they got 158 or 159 games left, depending on how many games are in their series. But the point is, it just wasn't clean. I don't think I saw maybe 3 or 4 games total where it was like neither team made an error. Now, did I watch every inning of every game? Of course not. But of what I did watch, I saw a lot of mistakes. And so I feel like I can project that across the league, unless I just happen to be watching the 3 or 4 games with mistakes. But it's the little things. It's the misplays. It just, you know what it was? Their timing was off. Even like there was no rhythm like defensively. The Red Sox were doing some kind of extreme shifts in the outfield. I saw one time where Roman Anthony was basically playing center field. And I was like, what? We're throwing this back a few years, right? A couple decades, and everybody was getting placed all over the field. But there were other times, and that one was intentional. But I'm just saying there were other times where you're looking like, what's the plan here? What's the play? And yes, they have all kinds of data, analytics, everything else on these batters, but I didn't really see a whole lot of times where the defense made an adjustment and it completely worked out right. I saw people running into double plays, saw bad base running. The Phillies, they end up losing the game, but there's a ball popped up. The first baseman just can't catch a foul ball, hits off his glove, Burger. And that was one of those moments you think back to whenever you made a mistake when you were playing and your team ends up still winning. Burger had go back and look at Burger as soon as the last out is made in extra innings for the Phillies game and against the Rangers. Yes. And this dude has one of the biggest smiles you're going to see because he just knows I almost cost us losing this game because there's 2 outs. All you got to do is catch the pop up foul ball. And these are the things where like you see middle school, high school players make this and you're mad and the parents are screaming, the coaches, and I'm freaking out like we got to make that play. But you see these MLB guys making the same mistake. It just felt more prominent this weekend. It just felt like something's not really fully locked in yet. I think spring training is being approached differently. I really do. I think it's more prospect focused. I think it's more, you hear about some of the guys where they're like, oh, he always struggles in spring. And I get you're trying different things, and especially pitchers, you're trying to see if you can hit the top of the zone, but it just felt like there was a lot of mistakes. But I think, and this is where you can call me conspiracy brain, it's not a panic thing. It's just there's no rhythm. But I think because the pressure from the WBC in those games, and a lot of people competed this year, it felt like more. What's the best way to phrase it? It's not that they didn't want to win in the past years. It's just, well, now they were been in these games where like winning mattered a whole lot more. Yes, you can miss the playoffs by a game. Every game's important. It's the beauty of baseball. Every pitch matters. But game 1, 2, and 3 didn't seem like it mattered as much maybe in the past few years. Again, this is just optics speaking here. And as the year goes on, the storylines will pop out a little more. But I felt it was kind of all over the place. I just wonder, like, how long do you think that kind of thing lasts? Let's say you're one of these teams that had a sloppy weekend, right? You had errors, you had pitchers not throwing strikes, you just got roughed up. How much longer do you let that linger? Because you're not like having the same type of practice as you were. The whole point of spring is to get you ready for the season. Well, it's the season now, and it looked like I was watching a lot of spring training games this weekend, I'll be honest with you, with MLB players. People are still figuring it out. Speaking of figuring it out, we're making the turn, right? And when we make this turn right here, this is not a turn and we're waiting to see what the coach says. This is we're taking the turn. We know we're at second. We don't know if we're standing up or sliding, but we know we're sprinting fully to second. There's no chance coach is telling us to come back. That's the type of transition we're about to make because baseball itself is changing in real time. It is changing right before our eyes. So we're going to address it. Second base, we're going to talk about ABS. Now, automatic balls and strikes, automated balls and strikes. Sorry if I said one of those wrong. Let's jump to the main headline. And yes, it's Reds focused again, but CB Buckner, this man, he probably was the most hated man on a field this weekend and probably the most hated man on the internet by baseball fans. Probably just like he's got to be going home just like, man, what do I do? So we're going to get into that, but I'm going to start with a bigger picture thing first. We saw the challenge system in play this weekend. And I'll be honest with you, I was interested to watch. I thought it was fascinating. Again, if you're not familiar, it's not the robo umps, right? It's players can challenge balls and strikes. Every team gets 2 challenges. As long as you get your challenges right, you keep them. You could challenge every single pitch if you get it right. Again, batters would challenge for a strike to become a ball. Obviously, batter's not going to challenge to make it become a strike. So it's for your benefit. You're challenging that way. And It was electric. I'm not gonna lie. I am someone, and shouts out to Teddy. He'll maybe be on here at some point, but he has been for this for a long time. As soon as they first started introducing the whole concept of minor leagues, and he probably would even want to push it even further, as a lot of other baseball fans do. But I think there's some things they got to clean up, and it's why they haven't fully committed to it. And what I want to focus on with ABS is not just simply balls and strikes. I mean, you had pitches missing by 0.1 inch, 0.01, like a tenth of an inch. It was crazy. And some of these catchers or batters, they're so confident and they're just wrong. So we're going to rewind a little and let's talk about ABS as a whole. And then I want to get into my main focus of how the human element is going to impact this. ABS as a whole, if you don't know, I believe it's 52, maybe 53 and a half percentage of your height. So everybody had to get fully measured, right? You see some of these teams, players are an inch or two smaller. I don't know if they're a benefit or not, but it just makes you wonder, did they used to just say the height and round up? Now they really have to have it. And then 27% of, where they're at the bottom of the zone. So if I phrased that poorly, my bad. I'll put it up there. Here's the thing. I don't think people were wording this right. Maybe it's MLB just like, hey, fans will figure it out. It's a universal strike zone. So in the past, when you have an umpire where, oh, he's calling it low, we're figuring it out, we're moving through, we're working towards it. Not the case anymore. Every umpire is operating with the same strike zone because players can now challenge if it's a strike or not. So if they're able to challenge or not, of course they have to have the universal strike zone. Most of you probably understand that if you're listening to this, but just wanted to clarify. So now there is a strike zone. It is one strike zone that is used, okay? And it's based on the player size for each player, right? And so the umpire typically does that from every league, from little league. They see, it's close, but we know there's going to be calls that aren't right, especially when these guys are throwing 102 mile per hour pitches. They got 102 sinkers, okay, that are dotting the inside part of the plate. How's an ump supposed to really actually know if it's that close? And the whole concept of, well, they're right 80 some percent of the time. Well, first of all, if a batter swings, they don't have to call anything. If it's a horrible pitch, don't have to call anything. If you really look at umpires in those really close borderline calls, they're not very good at it. And we're not very good at it either as fans watching with a box that's digitally imprinted on the screen. So it's going to take some adjusting as far as looking at it. It's definitely going to take some adjusting as far as, at any given point, I'm looking 2 or 3 different screens. There's something being challenged every couple innings. And the whole topic this offseason was who's allowed to challenge. I think as far as the defensive, you can't let the pitchers challenge. They're going to always feel like it's a strike, especially if the catchers are good at framing, which also is the thing. This is not going to make 100% of calls be correct. It's going to make it where in high leverage situations, or what managers are calling as what's going to maximize our opportunity to score runs, those type of situations, they're going to challenge these calls. Then instead of a 2-1 count becoming 2-2, it's now 3-1, right? And, there was a call in the Reds game, so we'll throw over to Buckner now, where in the first game, oh, that was actually Buckner's game too. But either way, in the first game, what would have been a strikeout, and the Reds get out of the inning down 1-0, turns into a walk. Then the Red Sox get a hit next at bat, and it opens the game completely. That is why it's there. That's the purpose. It's the right call. It's what the call should have been, because that one wasn't even that close. But these borderline pitches are going to start getting really, really tough for people. And I think you get past the 7th inning, and there's one real close that could flip an inning, give it a challenge. In the Red Sox series, Roman Anthony, he challenged back-to-back pitches, got the first one right, got the second one wrong. Well, the inning before, when Sonny Gray was pitching, they challenged one that was they thought it was a strike. It was still not. So the Red Sox, 3rd or 4th inning, out of challenges. And this umpire was bad. He was really, really bad. And at one point in the game, no joke, and you probably have heard the clip, the Reds announcer is saying, he's talking about how loud the fans are getting for the ABS call. The Reds then went on to challenge 5 or 4 more, so 5 total, went 5 for 5 on the challenges for the day. And, if you say, oh, he only missed 5 pitches and there's 120-some thrown at least, well, yeah, but those are the pivotal pitches. Those are the ones, and again, like we just talked about, you're not having to worry about swings or terrible pitches. These are borderline pitches. So CB Buckner, he is going to be the scapegoat for this weekend, and I wonder if it'll turn into, he's bad, first of all. Let me just say, he is bad. I'm not just feeling bad for the guy. But there's a human element of when you're a batter and you strike out looking, it's kind of embarrassing, right? You get froze on a curveball, or they blow one past you and you weren't looking for it, right? You're out of there. You got to answer that. You got to talk about that. Umpires are kind of getting showed up right now. Let's just be real about it. And maybe, look, come at me if you want to. I kind of feel bad for them. Now, was I mad when Buckner was getting hate whenever he was awful, even though it probably was more pro-Reds in his calls, to be honest? But it was bad. I want good umpiring. But there's a human element of, after they challenge 5 and they're correct on 5, they're basically saying, hey, we know this better than you. Are you thinking that's not going to affect his calls throughout the game? Now, anything that is close, is that in his head? Is he thinking about that? We ask these professional athletes to be mentally resilient, right? And yes, I think people are correct to question and be like, well, here's the thing. If they're getting paid these millions of dollars, look, these umpires, they're not the professional athletes. Okay. So we're expecting them to have that ability to just snap back. Can you imagine when you're just getting this done to you over and over again? And then you're finding out in real time right then you're wrong. So now it's not about screaming or yelling or anything like that. But in this same game, and I didn't mean to make this just Reds and Red Sox focus. That is what I watched every, pitch of the last two games. But I don't think people are quite getting that the Red Sox run out of challenges. Trevor Story check swings on a ball. They say he swung. Looking back, Red Sox fan, shout out Alexander. He's saying he didn't swing. I'm like, I don't know if he swung or not, but the home umpire, he doesn't even appeal. That's literally what the other umpire's looking for. What are you doing? He just says he swung. Is that because he already had been questioned so much? He's like, no, I'm taking over. There still is the human element of this that needs to be ironed out. And I haven't really heard or seen people talking about that really. And so that's just a thing where it's like it gets overturned. You have that. It's not an argument. It's just a correction in real time. And that's what's interesting because these players, they know the umpires. There's not hundreds and hundreds of umpires at every game or at every team. They see a lot of the same guys, especially divisionally and depending on where they're playing. They have relationships. If you watch like the full feed, they're going up, they're talking to them. Some of them know each other, right? They know their family. You want to make good with the umps. But like, is it going to change that even more? Like the young umpires coming up, maybe we used to it, but there's not a whole lot of guys, unless they've been in the minor leagues the past few years, that are used to this system fully besides just practicing with it. Now you have these athletes who probably do know it a little bit better than you because that's what they're used to seeing from their vantage point. I don't know. Here's what I'll end with. A hitter can go 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, but now an umpire can be shown up in real time too. And I just am very curious how it is. So we say we want it right. We agree with that. It has to somewhat change the relationship between players and umpires because you're basically saying, no, that's wrong. You're not just arguing or disagreeing. You can argue with your friend. Me and my buddies argue all the time. We're still good after. But if literally could prove, like, y'all know the guy I'm talking about, pulls out the phone. No, look, you said, dude, come on. That's not what we're doing. Let's just have an argument about it. No, look, you said this on September. That's me. I do that. Sorry. But don't be that person. Okay. And don't be that on. So while it's evolving with ABS, there's some basic situations we're trying to figure out. So it took a little longer on that one, but hey, we're still on pace. So after we made that turn at second, what are we going to do? We're rounding second base, and what do we do? Well, here's why I stopped there, because we're talking extra innings. The extra inning strategy is driving me insane. I can't handle it anymore. Look, I understand certain batters get up to the plate. You don't want to take the bat out of their hands. You don't want to give up an out with them at the bat. But especially if you're the home team. And what I'm speaking of is the extra inning rule, runner starts out on second. Okay? That's why we're trying to get to third right now, okay, for our third base of the topics. But the teams don't know what to do. It's still one of the weirdest parts of baseball. I saw several extra inning games. I saw a lot of teams not scoring at all. You start with a runner on second. You know what's really good to start with when you have no outs? A runner in scoring position. Do you know what scoring position means? It means you should be able to score him, right? You base hit, move him over, sacrifice fly, whatever you want to do. I just feel like these teams don't really know what they want to do. The Reds last year, horrible in extra inning games. Their approach was almost always just get up there and swing, take a big hack at it. And if you're the away team, I understand that you don't want to just bunt the first guy over. So let me actually break down my personal thoughts. I don't think you bunt him to third and then runner at third, one out, right? Anything other than just a pop out or strikeout, he's basically scoring. Okay, hit it hard somewhere, hit it backside, hit it deep enough, they can score. Especially if he goes extra innings, you can put in a pinch runner. Like, yes, it's your last out, but very rarely is it somebody you have to keep. That's why you have pinch runners. But they don't know what they want to do. So if you're the away team, I get it. Let your guys swing away, right? Unless you have an absolute lockdown pitcher, right? But when you know what the other team's going to do, it makes it a little easier, right? It's starting to feel like football overtime where it's like, I don't know what's better, first or second, getting the ball when both teams get a chance. It's like I don't know. But take the free advantage. Am I going insane? Trust your hitters to have a big inning. Sure, you're the away team. If you're the home team, it gets to the bottom of the 10th. There's a runner on second with no outs. Can they just not bunt anymore? Who am I? There's no way I'm getting in bunting an MLB pitcher. Okay. I understand. They're throwing extreme spin rates. They're doing everything they can, especially when they know you're trying to bunt. Okay. Practice it. I mean, I'm sorry, but if we're starting out with a runner on second and no outs and we can't score multiple times, I just don't get it. Like, Is it because you want to mentally tell the guy at the plate, like, hey, we would trust you to get a hit here? Or, the Reds announcers were even saying, somebody keep up how many times I've said Reds. They were saying when we got up at the thing with Matt McClain, who had already been on base 4 times, they're like, you don't want to take the bat out of his hand. I'm like, I agree you don't want to take the bat out of his hand because then he can't bunt the ball. So bunt the ball, move him over. He's fast enough to get on. The Reds tried to bunt the time before that, bunted directly right to the first baseman who's already in there. Why are we not bunting on third baseline? What is happening in extra innings? Are these teams just like overthinking it? I just feel like in a world where I really do support analytics and how it's infiltrated the game and so much, I want someone to show me the analytics on if you're the home team in extra innings, when you bunt the guy over to third successfully, because maybe that's a success thing, maybe they can't do it, but when you bunt the guy over to third successfully, how often do you win that game? Because if we're looking at the win probability, we're looking at this metric, we're looking at that, we're seeing his baseball savant, we're seeing his baseball reference, we're seeing in Fangraphs who's project. Scrap all of that. Get it out of here. Bunt the guy over. Score him. Win the game. I don't understand how a runner on second and no outs, the home team, hasn't even thought. Very few players, I'm considering not bunting. Now, I'll use the Reds again. Tally. Ellie comes up to bat with a runner on first and second, right? Matt McClain ends up getting walked on that bat. Didn't bunt, worked a walk, good at bat. Maybe you don't want to bunt with Ellie. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to say, you know what? We trust him to hit the ball. He's fast enough that really all a bunt does is kind of force them over. And also they're there. They can plan for it. It's a force at third. That's the other different part. It's not even a force play in extra innings because that's the thing. Also, when are we going to start seeing teams intentionally walk more in extra innings? I just feel like I have decent to above average baseball IQ, and I need somebody to explain it to me. I'm fine being wrong. I'm completely fine being wrong. Tell me that. Tell me why we're not bunting them over, or maybe we don't bunt. Why are we not trying to do everything we can just to get that guy to third? However creative you want to be. There's some other options with how you approach what you're doing, what pitches we're swinging at. They're just treating it like there's nobody on base. And it's like, yeah, we're just playing another inning. You have a guy on second. He's 180 feet. Well, he has a lead even less than that. You're close to winning the game, and you're just standing there, swing, daddy hacks. I don't get it. It's driving me absolutely insane. And it was maybe the most frustrating thing to watch all weekend. And again, I'm being critical, but I love baseball. I'm so happy it's here. Add all the things of wonderful about baseball. Go watch last year's Why We Love Baseball episode if you don't believe me. But you're starting with runner scoring position and somehow you're overthinking it. Here it is. Extra innings should be automatic offense, but teams keep making it harder than it needs to be. When the runner on second was added into the league, the goal was so games do not last as long. And it's done a good job of that, I will say. But it's not lasting as long, but we're still getting to the 11th, the 12th inning because we're just not scoring. The whole point is it lets you score. It makes it where the home team basically has to either stop them or give up one run. Okay, let's say the away team scores, right? If you're the home team, isn't your goal to get one run? Yes, you want to win, but if you get the one run, guess what? You can't lose. Fun fact in the MLB, if you have the same score, you can't lose. So why not do everything you can to tie the game instead of trusting your guy to come up and hit a home run so that you can win it? I don't know. I actually think I'm going crazy with this. Just teams are getting too cute with it. I understand, and I agree, it depends on who's at the plate. But in general, you have to have somebody on your roster, right? We're adding extra roster spots. It feels like every year we just get to add somebody else. We got guys coming in for defensive subs and pinch runners. They can't bunt. I don't know. All right, so that's round. We made it to third somehow. We did get bunted over. Thank you. That was our third base there. Again, one last time for bunting or swinging. And our final take. Okay. If this showed us anything of the whole weekend, baseball's back and it's changing. We're in for a really fun season, y'all. As much as I can complain about the extra innings or the changes in ABS or how rusty it looks, this season looks like it's about to be absolutely incredible. Okay. It looks like we're about to just thrive all the way through. You got to go back and look. You got to go back and think, when was the last time this many teams were hopeful for the playoffs? And don't say everybody. I know you just commented that. All right. When was the last time? And it didn't seem absolutely crazy. I want you to do this activity. Okay. Here's what I want every single one of our listeners to do. And you have a week to do it because we're not really going to get back. Okay. How many teams realistically do you think National League and American League, write them out, do you think can make the playoffs? On another piece of paper, I want you to write teams you see no world in which they can make the playoffs. Do it. I think that list is way smaller than it's been. Way smaller. And when you have that, yes, we can talk about, and it'll probably be one of the bases soon, the Dodgers and the top teams and the Brewers look like, I think they lost today, but they don't really lose. All these teams that win 90-plus games are still going to be winners. There is a lot of competition in that middle grouping. There's a lot of teams fighting, a lot of teams working to get there. So I'm just excited. Sorry if this wasn't super concise and super quick, but baseball's back in a massive way. Opening weekend had rust, umps kind of getting exposed, and then bunter swing once we did make it to third. So apologies for a little confusion there, but I'm passionate about it. Okay, that's all I got to say. Appreciate you. That's all I got. Let me know what you think. Let us know. City around the bases, opening weekend 2026.